Alright, this is the second tape. For some reason, my last tape didn't go through. I'm going to try to speak up a little bit louder. I know my voice is really soft. I teach classes, and that's the feedback that I always get, is that I don't speak loud enough. And I want to talk about the fact that I am an ex-Mormon and what that means to me. Because on the internet, there seems to be a lot of animosity between Mormons, or as they prefer to be called, Latter-day Saints, and ex-Mormons. And I want to clarify that not all ex-Mormons are anti-Mormons. And by that I mean that I still absolutely love Mormon culture. I just don't share the beliefs that they do anymore. To give you a brief history, when I was little, I was searching for some sort of grounded environment. I'm very much I believe a right-brain person where everything has to be orderly. There's rules, everything makes sense, logical, no surprises, and I was searching for some sort of outlet that resembled that. And then when I was 15, I was surrounded by a whole bunch of Mormons. My best friends had just left, and I really had nobody. And I don't mean to make it sound like the Mormon church took advantage of me, because they didn't do that. I was vulnerable though, and I was looking for something to fill a hole in my life that left by my best friends being gone, and the Mormon church provided that. And so I basically looked them up in the phone book. I called them. They never ever searched me out, never tried to pressure me to join. It was all of my own volition, and so I went. And the missionaries taught me the first discussion, and you know, it's the whole concept of the milk before the meat. And so I didn't learn a lot of the deep doctrine when I first learned about the church. And about 10 months later, I was baptized. It took a little bit of convincing on my parents' part, but I can be very persuasive when I want to. I was Mormon for 8 years, from when I was 15 to when I was 23. And I had a lot of fun as a Mormon. I traveled around, I moved around to a couple different places, and I always looked up, you know, a Mormon ward or singles group or congregation, however you want to call it. That was the first thing I did, was connect myself with a local Mormon church. And I don't regret one moment of being a Mormon. I had a lot of fun while other people were out drinking and doing wild and crazy things, but not being able to remember. I was off on adventures, hikes, all sorts of games, you name it. We did it, as long as it was moral, and I remember every second of it. There wasn't any drinking or drugs or anything like that, of which I'm very glad. And if I hadn't been Mormon, I probably would have followed a very different path. And I don't want to discount anybody who maybe who falls under the category of what I'm about to describe, but I probably would have been a teenage mother, probably a drug addict. The town where I came from was very prevalent like that, and I kind of am easily influenced. So I'm glad I was easily influenced by a good group of people versus a bad group of people. So when I was 23, I started to, well, you know, I was growing up, and I looked more seriously at Mormon doctrine and at Mormon history. And I'm a history major now, so I mean, that makes sense looking back. I basically found out that Joseph Smith, at age 38, had married two 14-year-olds, and their names were Nancy Smith and Helen Mar Kimball. I found this by going through the LDS website, following their link to family history. So it wasn't some crack website that, you know, just anti-Mormon, hate Joseph Smith, all that. No, it was straight through the Mormon website. And I know that that family website isn't actually powered by the LDS Church, but it is basically promoted on their website. So to me, that was the next best thing. And in my mind, there is no reason, absolutely no reason, why God would tell Joseph Smith to marry two 14-year-olds. And then come to find out later on, I also found out that Joseph Smith was marrying women who had living husbands. There's no record of divorce or death on the part of the husband, so in my mind, and in any logical person's mind, it would seem that Joseph Smith married women. And I cannot think of any reason why God would do that. So the only logical assumption from there is that God didn't tell Joseph Smith to do that, that Joseph Smith lusted after these women. I know there's accounts of him marrying older women, and I don't know what to say about that. Um, but he married people he shouldn't have been marrying. God would have never told him to do that, and I know that because God put that in my heart. And so I knew right away that I had to leave the LDS church, and I was fortunate enough to be able to move somewhere almost right away. And it wasn't even my own choice, but God led me away from where I was living so that I could get a clean start. And nobody I met knew I was Mormon, and so that was really good. But at the same time, I had let the Mormon church become my rock. I had let the Mormon church replace Jesus as my rock. And so when that was gone, I realized that it wasn't my rock, it was sand, and I was falling fast. And I continued to fall for several years until I met a good friend who witnessed to me of Jesus Christ and his goodness and his mercy. And I had never denied him. I had just kind of ignored him. And so I'm glad that she was able to bring me back, I guess, so to speak, in the fold. But I'm still just figuring out my path right now. And I know that God is next to me, guiding me. But I think he's letting me have a little bit more control here as far as what church I'm going to go to. And that's kind of scary. I haven't found a church yet that I feel is made for me, that speaks a message that is meant for me. But in the meantime, I've got a decent place to go. People are nice there. And God and Jesus Christ do not consist of a church. It consists of the believers. And you can have many different churches, and you know, they might even just interpret the Bible differently, but that does not mean that they are wrong. It just means that God has a different way for them to hear his word, and a different way for him to interpret his word. At least that's how I believe. Now, I realize I'm going to get a lot of negative comments. I really want to emphasize that I do not hate Mormons. I am not anti-Mormon. I hate that association that ex-Mormon automatically equals anti-Mormon. I have a lot of good friends and good friends that are Mormon, and they know where I stand, and I know where they stand, and we get along just fine. And whenever I have gone home to visit, I've gone back to the Mormon church to go to Sunday school, and while I may not believe what they believe, I always am respectful. I don't like to argue too much, but I figured this was a good way for me to kind of talk it out. And so anyway, I'm almost done. I just wanted to address, when I looked at other people's pages and comments on people, especially in religion, people like to do a lot of name calling, a lot of I'm right and you're wrong. And I just ask in your comments, if you've made it this far before making any, that you'd please be respectful to everybody else and their beliefs. If you disagree civilly and show that you're a mature human being. No name calling, please. I really, really want to promote an atmosphere of dignity, respectability, sensibility, manners. So please, don't answer in haste. Don't reply in haste. Think about what you're going to say. Be a grown-up. And that's about it. Thank you very much.